All right, so welcome back to the second part of this session. Just a quick reminder, if any of us the participants from this side, we would like to speak and then kick because the other side, those online do not get us well. So we can speak loud. Eh? Okay, so again, welcome back. Our next presenter will be Mr. Johnson Palmer, Chief Forester Industry Division, on the achievements and nations land on output 3 of the SFRM activities. Johnson, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. All right, I'll be talking on the achievements, lessons learned of output 3 SFRM pilot activities forest management. Next. All right, the content in this presentation: 1, outline of the forest management activities. 2, technical training for regenerating forest. 3, technical training for utilizing forest. And 4, monitoring and evaluation lessons learned. 1, outline of the forest management activities. Regeneration cutting. 1, clear cutting, harvesting 100% of objective species. That's through trees being identified for cutting. Selective cutting, harvesting 25 or 50% of objective species. Thinning is carried out at the same time. Objective species are usually Pomcia, scientific name. Aqua, it's the trade name. For your information. Fidex coppicus or Fata, commonly known. Tectona grandis, thick, Sweeteria microphylla or mahogany. Non-regeneration cutting. Point 3, weeding, removing weeds. This includes when resource owners move around in the forest, if there's weeds growing around us, good standing trees, all these weeds and vines need to be removed. This will allow the tree to grow into a good tree in the future is to come for timber. Removing cutting, remove non-objective trees. For example, when you have a forest, that's what's happening in community. Trees that are non-productive means they cannot be utilized for trees in the future, have to be trimmed. And those only required left to grow. Thinning, removing low quality objective trees. Trees that are cannot grow fast or suppressed by certain factors were removed. The next big point is how should we deal with leaning over tree? By using hoist, pull the landing over tree to the direction to 90 degrees of landing force. This is a pressure used for felling of trees. If a tree cannot be felled to the direction where it's proposed, then it has to be, a rope has to be used in order for the tree to be felled to a safer direction. Technical training for regenerating forest. Regeneration forest consists of natural regeneration, For those of us, or for every one of us who have been in the forest, any seedlings that are growing naturally, it can be regarded as one natural generation. Planted ones, I understand the people of community body and maybe Falake are also involved by selecting better seedlings, especially wildlings, and replanting growing gaps that's being produced through felling of bigger trees. Technical training for regeneration, facilitating natural regeneration, and necessary bed making. How to facilitate regeneration? As you can see, start weeding around newly germinated seedlings, continue weeding newly generated seedlings, and the list goes on. Like this one here, creeping vines have to be removed. Also, seedlings that are of importance around log stumps. This one is a log stump. I think it's a pommier. These seedlings has to be protected. And also, these ones are known as copies. How to select the best ones depends entirely, first of all, on official observation. Copies that has broader stump has to be kept. Crooked ones has to be removed. Next. Technical training for regeneration forest. Cross-section of germination bed, objective species, is teak and mahogany. One kilogram of teak mahogany can be sown in 1 meter square, 1 or 2 inches width. So you can see here, this is an example, no actual demonstration of a germination bed done by resource owners here. So this one is a cross section of standard bed. Its objective is also for teak and mahogany. Next. Technical training for utilizing forest. Forest management activities consist of necessary natural regeneration, planting, weeding, removal, cutting, thinning, felling, harvesting, milling. The list goes on. MOFR-JICA project provides not only training of necessary regeneration, but also training of felling, milling, and future making. Like this one, as you can see, is a sawmill, I think, portable sawmill. I think Stephanie, your team are also involved to participate with this. Okay. And this one, Dr. Nishikawa, coming together furniture. Okay. So you see, it's a collaboration of teamwork, JICA and forestry technical staffs. Next. Now, logging and lumber technology training. So, to improve logging and building techniques to add value to the timber, everything has to be done correctly. It starts from felling. Tree has to be felled in the proper direction to minimize damage to the surrounding flora and fauna, and also to minimize damage to the chainsaw. For one example, like our community, I think society that something happened to the chainsaw, the tree was not felled correctly, or the chainsaw is too small. Therefore, the weight of the tree have to press onto the change of blade, so it cannot be removed easily. So all these things has to be done correctly. Lucas wheel has to be stationed at a place that is suitable, close to a place where the trees are fair. This one. You cannot locate a Lucas wheel on a slope. It would be difficult for the logs to be built easily. With that, organizing, strengthening, and in preparation for full-scale pilot activities. Next. Monitoring and evaluation lessons learned. The activities of forest management will commence since April 2021 and will be continued until April 2022, as stated in the table below. About 60 specific items, such as effective measures to bring timbers out from forests, institutionalized eco-forestry initiatives, related with work with community-based sustainable forest management, monitored and evaluated, and about 60 of lessons learned have been extracted. Among 60 of lessons learned, the most important lessons learned would be to provide mobile mill. Lucas mill would be common in several areas. To local communities, to let them manage forests by themselves. Generally speaking, the local community does not own tractor to take felled trees to roadside. Only way for local community to utilize forest was to sell logging concession right to logging company who owns tractor. Selling concession right is not a sustainable way to utilize forest. In order to let local people manage forest in a sustainable way, MOFR-JICA project decided to provide Lucas mill to Community and Palagi. And I understand they already benefit from these Lucas mills. Community people can bring Lucas mill, need a felled tree, and can make a felled tree into sawn timber by using Lucas mill inside in forest. The local people can easily pull out sawn timber from inside in forest to roadside in forest by using manpower. That is, we are talking about sustainability. Once sawn timber is piled in roadside, local people can sell sawn timber to the market by themselves. Monitoring and evaluation lesson learned. You can see specific topic and lessons learned as of activity 3.6. Number 3, specific topic, effective measures to bring timbers out from the forest. Lesson learned as of activity 3.6. Lucas mill would be recommended so that sawn timber produced by Lucas mill can easily be inside of the forest to roadside by manpower. Lucas mill will be the most effective tool to realize community forestry, and this is very true. Lucas mill would be the most effective to realize community forestry. Providing Lucas mill to the community enable the community people to mill the log in the forest, to take out some timber to roll, and to sell the timber to the market by themselves. community people who are able to sell timber to the market by themselves and could enjoy the most profitable benefit component. Number 6, sustainability. In order to keep sustainability, continuous profitable activity not only related to forestry activity, but also related to agriculture and livestock activities should be prepared. Number 9, capacity building trainings for downstream processing. Lesson learned as of activity 3.6, roadside training with on-site exercise about felling and milling should be carried out not with one time, but with a couple of times. 17, commodity forestry approach at customary land. Lesson learned, commodity forestry approach at customary land will be made through trainings of forest management, product marketing, leadership, product quality improvement, networking with buyers, participatory monitoring and evaluation, and exit strategy. This is very important. Number 18, exit strategies. Lesson learned as of this activity 3.6. Exit strategy would be marketing of wood products. Wood product would be consumed in the community, sold to the local market, or sold to international market through Wood Product Marketing Association. For example, FATA, Top Timbers, and the list goes on. 19, institutionalized eco-forestry initiatives. Lesson learned, institutionalizing community forestry would be realized by stipulating community-based sustainable forest resources management in National Strategic Plan. Providing Lucas Mill in communities will be recommended in the National Strategic Plan. Providing Lucas Mill would be the most effective system to realize community forestry. It is also important to manage Lucas Mill in the community in a fair and transparent manner. This is very important as well. In order for owners to maximize benefit, things must be done transparently. Next. All right. Thank you, Thomas. Arigatou gozaimasu. You can see here the forest management. The fact sheet number 3 is a background. I think that's all from me. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Thomas. Johnson Palmer, Chief Official Forest Industries, for the presentation. And I think if we look at our concept note, we can realize that component 3 is about those piloting activities that are happening in the two communities. Yeah? So one of the component activities is forest management, which Johnson Palmer has just talked about. And the next component activity will be presented by Ruby Tabonga on agroforestry. Ruby, please.
All right, good morning, everyone. Hope it's still morning. Okay, the next activity, pilot activity, which I'm going to present is the agroforestry achievement and measurement. The outline of my presentation, as you can see, the agroforestry pilot activities, development of implementation plan, implementation of practice, monitoring and evaluation, achievements, and measurement. Right. In this project, we have two pilot sites. First one is in Boli in the East Central Teluk Canal, and the other one is in Palake in West Barai, Malaysia province. And then the development of AF implementation plan and the agro implementation of agro pilot activities include first the community members how to develop their implementation plans by themselves with the support of the Ministry of Forestry and the JICA project. And we have our agroforestry expert there, Dr. Yamauchi. And next is they have to measure their own plot because it's their own land and they know very well what's happening in the land. So they have to identify the sites and then they have to measure their own plots. And then they have to select the species and the layout of their plot. And they have to make their work plan. And then they have to, as you can see from the picture, they have to make their own plans and they have to make the plot layout here. They make their, develop their own implementation plans and their land use plans. Next. From that slide, you can see that is the Komuniboli agroforestry plot site. Komuniboli, they only have one plot. So this is the future land use plan. From that land use plan, they chose their own site. So that's the site. And from the site, because it's too big, they only chose that the yellow colored one. That is their agroforestry plot. And this is the initial layout of the agroforestry plot. As you can see, they have different crops and trees. The long-term crops, mahogany thick pencil cedar, and it was planted 6 meters by 6 meters. And then the medium-term crops, they have guava, rolling tree, and tangerine. And the short-term crops, they have banana, eggplant, corn, pineapple, bean, banana, and peanut. So this is the layout of the Komuniboli agroforestry plot. Likewise, in Palake, they also have their agroforestry plot. But in Palake, they have two plots. The first plot is the previous garden area. And the next plot is the previously used as mahogany plantation. And this is the future land use plan. According to the land use plan, they chose their different sites, plots for agroforestry plots. So they have two different plots. And then the Palake, the agroforestry plot one, as you can see here, the layout, they have long-term crops, mahogany, aqua, rosewood, baula, it's calophyllum and sandalwood. The medium-term crop, durian, vanilla, avocado, and so on. And that's the short-term crops as well. And also in the second plot, they have long-term, because it's previously used as mahogany plantation, existing plantation. So they already have mahogany in that plot, and they do thinning in the plot, and they plant kava, durian, the medium term and short term between the thinned mahoganies. So this is the implementation practice, what's happening in the plots in Komuni Boli. As you can see, they have their short-term and short-term pineapple, and you can see the mahogany trees have grown very fast. This is and you can see guava, the medium-term crop and short-term crops. From here, you can see the teak trees, they have grown very fast to the height of 6 meters. And so that's the overall overview of the agroforestry plot in Komuni Boli. And in Falake AF plot 1, it was established in a previously used garden area, and you can see trees. 5 corner is a medium-term crop, peanut and taro, vanilla. And also you can see Gliricidia is used for nitrogen fixation, and also for the short-term, both long-term, medium-term, and short-term crops planted in the same plot. Next. And in the previous, in the plot 2, it was the mahogany plantation. You can see the different plants that's planted. After thinning, they plant, as you can see from here, northern yam is planted along that mahogany tree, as well as kava planted under. So as it was in previously, it's in mahogany plantation plot. They thinned and then they plant under the mahogany trees. By monitoring and evaluation of agroforestry activities, monitoring and evaluation was also conducted by the communities. What they see and how they work within the project implementation period. And you can see from there the discussion in how they evaluate the different activities that they have been doing during the course of the project. And with the help of, assisted by the Ministry of Forestry and JICA project, SFRM project. Also, there is monitoring of agroforestry plots using drones. As you can see, the first, the agroforestry plot was firstly established in 2019, and then there are land use changes, as it's obvious. Firstly, there's no cutting, and in 2021, there's agroforestry plots established. This is in Palaka. And then in 2023, the plot is, because this is the previously used garden area. As you can see, this year it was greeny again because the trees have grown. Here you can see the layout of the same plot, plot 1. This is the initial layout. And different trees and medium term and short term. But there is changes in the short term crops because they were doing crop rotation. So you might see different changes in medium short term crops because they rotated crops within the same plot. Yeah, this one is, you can see it clearly. The first, you will find out that there are different crops planted in the initial layout. And the current layout, you will see different crops, but for the long-term crops, it's the same. But with the short-term, it's different because they did crop rotation. Cost and benefit. Here you will, the overall overview here is doing, implementing the agroforestry activities in community, they earned income. So it is one of their achievements, and we will see the cash in, it was comparing with the cash out, they earned income. Yes. Similarly in Falake, as you can see from that table, cash in, cash out, comparing, there is income earned, especially in the short-term crops. But for the long-term and medium-term crops, it is still on the way. For the achievements of the Boli community, they have been established very well. Fruit trees existed and planted. They have planted what trees they want to plant, and because it's the people's land, so they know how, what plant they selected, and it grew very well, except for the tangerine. And as you can see, the mahogany and teak, they've grown very fast at the height of 6 meters and DBH of 5 to 6 centimeters. And for the short-term area, there have been conditions changed in accordance with condition and seasons of plants. Because there's in the short-term crops, there is seasons, crops have seasons and conditions within the plots. So there has been change, as you can see from the previous layout of the plot. However, there are challenges faced by communities due to African giant snail but there has been activities on pilot sectors trying to address the issue with the help of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. But there is still infestations on the plots, and then crop harvested. There has been harvesting of crops in the past, and it's sold within the community for their own consumption. People in the community, they buy their products for their consumption, and also they sold the products at the central market. And then the financial benefits was distributed once, and according to the household, and the sales, it is according to the workload. It's the, for example, if you work more, you earn more. You work less, you earn less. You do nothing, you earn nothing. That's how they distribute their benefits. And with the sales of the product, the crops, they've established the canteen. They use money to earn money. And also crops were used in community events such as religious events as well. Also in Palaki, there has been well-established plots, although a number of these surviving was less than that of the plan they have initially. In plot 1, around 80% of trees and fruits survived. Mahogany aqua eucalyptus around 5 to 7 meters high. All southernwood avocado trees died due to waterlogging because the location, the site is located on the waterlogged area. And also, however, Gliricidia, cocoa, 5-corner trees also survived. Agroforestry plot 2, about 72% of mahogany trees were thinned, and only one durian out of 9 survived. In both plots, types and planted areas of short-term crops and with shade in a forest condition. As a result, short-term crops became simple. As I have mentioned, there has been seasons of crops planted and rotation. There has been changes in the, as you can see from the layout as well. There have been social, natural and social challenges faced, such as waterlogging. The area, the site is waterlogged in stony areas, but they managed to grow and they've earned income out of their agroforestry plots. The community also generates income in the sales of crops harvested from the plots. They also cook and share crops, cooked food and harvested crops and shared among the community members. We have community members from Palaki and community here as well. If I like, they will say, they will tell. Yes. Okay, the overall achievement in the agroforestry plot, agroforestry activity in this two communities. We can see that they practice community-based agroforestry, which community make their own plan, implementation plan. They have their own layout. They choose their own plan. And with the support of the ministry and the project, they manage to achieve their plans. And the community is the community-based agroforestry, as we can see, is applicable in Solomon Islands. With the support of financial support and materials from the government and donors, especially JICA. And it is suggested that agroforestry, suggested by the community, that they realize agroforestry, they realize that agroforestry is, they realize sustainable forest resource management through agroforestry, as it produces valuable timber trees, and as well as it reduces pressure on natural forests, on their natural forests. Agroforestry was also recognized as an alternative land use method to slash and burn, which enable community members to produce crops continuously on the same unit or plot of land, rather than moving from one place to place, one plot to the other, which takes up land space and diminishing of forest. The agroforestry pilot activity provided an entry to women to participate in decision making. There was also active participation by women in this project, especially this agroforestry implementation activity. The cost and benefits provided in the community members in terms of financial management and transparency of community related work. They have, in doing these activities, they know how to do proper reporting and managing their activities, as well as financial gains, which they can also transparent to the communities as well. Yes. The lessons learned from the activities. Lesson learned is divided into three categories. First one is lesson related to aid for establishment and maintenance. The plot should be selected and decided by not only discussing the land use map, but also checking ground conditions. This means we have to go on the ground and do groundworks rather than use maps only. And layout should be developed by community members by themselves, taking into consideration concerns surrounding communities. Because it is the land and the natural resources, the layout, it should be given to the community themselves. Trees should be selected, taking into consideration availability of plant materials and marketing. People know how they market, what materials they have available. So it should be done by the people and not the project and the ministry. If layout especially types of plant areas, it should be modified according to the condition. And also the different seasons of crops. Next. The next lesson plan category is related to management of AF activity as collective. Transparency and accountability should be ensured by keeping financial record and sharing them among the members. In this project, the community members know how to keep records, the daily records and the financial records, and transparently they share it with their community members. They share it with each other. And skills and practice to record keeping should be improved, where records should be simplified as much as possible. Here, record keeping, they need to be improved, and there should be more training on how to do recording with the community members. And it is suggested there that digitization of record keeping should be examined. AF activities should be carried out with conscientious community members. Next. Next lesson learned related to promotion of AF in the future. Knowledge and lesson learned acquired through field practice should be accumulated from communities and disseminated to stakeholders, including other communities interested in AF and more. Long-term management methods will be developed. Importance of AF in terms of food security should be clarified and covered. Thank you, Thomas. Thank
you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas, Ruby, for the presentation regarding agroforestry component activity of component 3 here. We move on to the next presenter, Mark Jesse, for other livelihood activities implemented in the two Barat communities.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I will be presenting on other livelihood improvement activities. As you know, it is under component 3, output 3. And output 3, we have two parts to it. There is the forest management and other livelihood activities. And other livelihood activities, we have agroforestry, which we have already presented on, and I will be presenting on other livelihood improvement activities. It's part of output 3. Okay, without wasting more time, I know we are now sleeping in the afternoon, so let's move on. Okay, so the outline of the content of this presentation is, as you can see, basically we'll be looking at the achievements and lessons learned. But first of all, we'll just go to outline of the activities, the planning process, implementation, and the monitoring and review before we go into achievements and lessons learned. Okay, so yeah, in the implementation of the other livelihood improvement activities, the first, there's a planning process. And as you can see, the planning process involves reviewing of past processes, collection of ideas from the community, that is brainstorming on the potential activities that the community would like to be implemented. And then there is the rapid assessment of the potential activities. And then the pilot activity profile. This is profiling of all the activities that the community would like to be implemented. And then the detailed activity implementation plan. As you can see on the right, that is just the first page of the implementation plan. And you can see also the table below, that is the activities that both pilot sites would like to be implemented. And then we move on to the implementation process after all the planning has been done. We move on to the implementation process of the activities. So in the implementation process, the activities selection, both communities are first selected pig farming. They are interested to first implement pig farming for both communities. And the next technical training was organized by the project with the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. One of the officers was engaged to do the training. And after the training, the project identified those participants who are interested to initiate the activity, in this case, pig farming. And then we move on to the agreement on the managerial arrangements for the activity. And there is the facilitation, facility construction for pig house and chicken house. Yeah, in fact, there are two activities that we implemented. Firstly, it's pig farming. So we begin with the construction of a facility for pig house. And the project assisted in procurement of materials for the facilitation of the construction, and also procurement of animal feeds as well as feeds, pigs and chicken or birds. Also, the project assisted in their day-to-day management. They facilitate the combination of their day-to-day management of these two activities, pig farming and chicken farming. And also, record keeping is one of the big challenges that we come across for both pilot sites to keep records. Otherwise, the project also assisted them in making sure they try to keep records of every activity. And then there is the development of the management rules and regulations, which is also one of the very important document that the project helped to formulate for both pilot sites. So in the technical training, as you can see top right, that is in Falake, where a Ministry of Forestry and Agriculture officer conducted lecture. And then to the top, yeah, you can see a practice on feeding techniques, but mixing. They practice how to mix pig feed made out of 3 things: meal run, fish meal, as well as another third one, I think. And below we have practice vaccination. It's a yearly articulate from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. Inject sick pig, and at the same time the community learn how to conduct vaccination. And then on the bottom right is the slaughtering community. Also, this activity is conducted by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. For the construction, the community use basic materials mainly. So you can see sago palm leaves. The timber comes from the forest management. So there is a pig house under construction for Komuniboli and for Falake, and also a chicken house for Komuniboli, and that's in the first stages and near completion for Komuniboli chicken house. Okay, for material procurement and provision, there's an image of loading of pig feed from Moniara to Falake. And there's a storage of pig feed in Falake, and procurement of pigs for Falake as well. And here is the material handing over for chicken farming in Komini. So these are some of the materials that the project assisted both pilot communities with. And in the day-to-day management, as you can see, that's the actual activity. Cleaning of the pig pen, washing of the pig pen, and preparing the feeds with the measurements of the ratios that the trainer advised, both pilot sites. And they also create their schedule, feeding schedule for the day-to-day management of pig farm as well as for chicken farm. Okay, development of management rules and regulations. At this point in time, the pig farm management rules and regulation for pig farming has been completed. For chicken farming is yet to be completed probably by the end of this month, early next month. So the contents of the management rules and regulations for pig farming as well as chicken farming is, as you can see, there's a background, management structure, new membership for the IG members, day-to-day management, business plan, sales, revolving fund, monitoring and IG meetings, modification of rules and regulations, and also, if they wish, to terminate the pig farming or say, chicken farming. So under monitoring and review, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Officer advisor that the project engaged, visit the community occasionally when requested to check on the health of the pigs, mainly health of the pigs and the condition of the pigs, as well as the environment, how the activity affects the environment also. And he gives technical advice to the community. And likewise for chicken farming. Okay, so the monitoring and review, record keeping. The project provides a format for both communities. Otherwise, the communities also have their way of keeping record. So as you can see, there's the format, maybe it's not very clear, but there is the format provided by the project. And below is their own record keeping format. Okay, for monitoring and review criteria, after the planning and implementation, there is a follow-up monitoring and review, where the criteria is as follows: the objectives, project check on the objectives of the activity, the relevance, performance, effectiveness, cost effectiveness, and the external factors. Okay, let's move to the achievements. Achievements for the project. There are two parts: there is the Komini and Falake. So the IG formulation and management structure. An interest group was formulated on Komini with all the community households. There are 25 households in Komini community. So far, the committee members of the other livelihood improvement subcomponent have been in charge of managing the activity. And for Falake, an IG member was formulated with all the community households, there are 48, and the committee members of the other livelihood improvement activities are in charge of managing the activities. And for material procurement, for both communities, the project provides the IG with materials for pig house construction, and water system, supply system, and piglets and feeds, etc. And timber was procured from the forest management by the forest management component in each pilot site. Raising and management system, joint management is engaged there by all members of members and households on a daily basis. Likewise, for Falake, joint management by all IG members and households on the daily basis. A supervisor is appointed weekly to supervise the work on the IG members. So that's for Falake. Growth situation, raising and management situation. For Komuniboli, 1 pig died due to illness. 1 pig died, and currently there are 4 pregnant sows in Komuniboli. For Falake, last year 6 died. It was anticipated due to food poisoning, so 6 pigs died. Currently, 2 are pregnant. Okay, income and expenditure. So far, 3 pigs have been sold for Komuniboli for meat. Receivables were generated more than $6,000 due to credit sales, but there is no apparent loss due to the processing by compensation for the loss of the community fund. So yeah, mainly it was credited, otherwise forest management paid back the credit on behalf of those creditors. So there is the income and expenditure and balance for Komuniboli as well as for Falake. 2 pigs have been sold so far for meat as well, and there is the income, expenditure, and balance. Okay, balance outlook, sales of 70% of the newborn piglets. We would like to do that for Komuniboli, and by the end of this year, we are looking at raising more than $20,000 for Komuniboli, pig farming. And for Falake, sale of all the newborn piglets, they would like to sell all. And by the end, by the end of the year, we expect 28,000, more than 28,000. Management rules and regulations. Based on the past experience, it was clearly stated that credit sales are prohibited in any case. So, Komuniboli would not like to give any credits. You pay cash. Unlike for Falake, they enjoy the benefit of IG members, households, and article clarified that if pork is sold in the community, then the IG members or households can purchase by paying 10% of the pork fee as the deposit, and balance will be settled later. So they allow what we call count. Okay, lesson learned. Lesson learned related to approaches. First one, approaches to enhance community self-help effort and ownership should be applied throughout the project management cycle, that is in the planning and implementation stages and review. And next, appropriate number and or quantity of activities for support should carefully consider so that the target communities can properly manage all of them. The lessons learned related to activity management. Joint management of activities by community members is possible only when measures to solve problems on their own without external support is or are vested. This is the management rules and regulations. Management rules and regulations can be a promising tool to help communities carry on activities in a sustainable manner. And lesson learned related to organizational capacity development, selection of activities, particularly the first activity, which is farming, should be assessed with a criterion that can contribute to enhance communities' organization capacity development. Example, pig farming. support for establishing the country's overall organizational structure can give positive impact to the activities which a project or program assists. I think that's it for other livelihood improvement activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JC, for that presentations. And I can also say that due to the details that these some component activities that involve this that they need to share. So I think the timing could be longer than anticipated. But now let me invite Ms. Gelin Wai for the gender analysis of the done in the communities. Gelin, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me for the presentation of this one. It is part of the gender analysis team that carried out this one. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Even though I have 1 year already, but we got an opportunity for presenting some analysis and achievements. Okay, so you will see here the outline of there. We're not brief because 5 minutes will go for lunch. I think you all know how to read, so if I read content there. Okay, so you're looking at there, outline of gender analysis is objective is to identify the current status of gender equality in the dimensions, especially in the forest sector. Also to analyze some approaches and some interventions that promote women's active participation in decision-making processes, leadership, and also the economic empowerment that the project has been done in the 5 years. Okay. So the analysis I have done, methods that we have been carrying out was we did this review of existing data and literatures, not only on forest, but we also looked at the education, health sector, and other sectors as well, because this one's not connected. So we did a broad test review as well on the existing data that is available in the Solomon Islands and also in the Pacific. And then we conducted field survey, including field visits. So we go to Falak project sites, Kominiboli and Falake, did some key interviews with different women, and different groups. So we did carry out 4 different questionnaires for women, men, and separately. I am really good for doing separate because when we talk with the women and men don't got a chance. Okay, so that's why we have to do separate. Okay, so you will see there that team. We did preparations doing creation of or creating a, and then in 2021. And then we will also go out to the communities for collecting data. And then February to April, we follow about testing of the questionnaires, because it's very important for also doing testing of questionnaires. So we go do that one, and then we will come back and change it a bit, and then I went back again. That's why we will have to go visit twice. We spoke with chiefs, with community leaders, the churches, the women, and other influencers as well. And then we come back and do the transcriptions for the interviews and the report. So some of our key findings for that, you might wonder why we have to talk about the gender inequalities there and disparities there. Generally, women are disadvantaged in most aspects. You might be agree with me or no, but this is what one teacher that women or gender equality, this is still big gap in terms of literature or education for Solomon Islands. Ministry of Education have been doing well so far on enrollment rates for primary and high school, but there's still some gaps for there. Several limited access to health and medical services. There's still high gaps for there. A lot of women still die from time of the war and also you can see here, there's a lot of gap or unemployment in employment. A lot of men still holding higher position than women. Some office, they all know this one has not been changed, but that might be in some households, but not generally. There's very limited political participation. There's very high violence against women, domestically in the families as well. Why? Because let us say that men have dominated for every decision making. There's a reason for that. That's why we have to really look for general law, education and health, because these things can come impacting why not make no one having zero decision making, especially law land and resources. While in the family or family level, there's balance with their communal level. The communities that people are doing survey for communities, everyone, decision making law household level, or mommy and daddy of the Sudan within decisions. Slaughter parts were blood price. Blood price can also affect positions of women in the community. Women don't really have the opportunity or the space for making decision because women out of income is a tribe only. So we are in terms of land, natural resources for decision making. Women or the girls of the kind of opportunity. Yeah, they can sit there, but what about themselves? Christian, since the Mama was the one who blood price, our Christian or our practices, and also affecting to participation for women, and also youth as well, inside of decision. But we do have some achievements for them. Government really have ratified SIDO. SIDO have a convention on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. There. We also part of the Pacific Platform for Action for Gender Equality and Women's Rights. We also have a very good established structure for the women, like you can hear of the National Council of Women, Women's Rights, and other includes those things already. We got a good policy as well. But one thing that is missing in that good policy was can already focus on natural resources, including forestry. So that's one of the weaknesses where it is that a good policy. Have only focused on leadership, violence. These are the things that we're calling traditional gender issues. Things like natural resources, climate change, and forestry have missing. So it's something that maybe the ministry or Puna have really focused on to bring it up with Ministry of Women. Because Ministry of Women might also bring maybe for a ministry that people are a little bit weak on that part, but it's not your fault, it's something very well. Okay, some of the challenges we already done there. Ministry of Women have a little bit no resources in terms of sector building fund. Not only of the resources for economic empowerment, leadership, and violence, but there's no focal point for natural resources and forestry. So, what should really be very follow for providing those technical capacity. You will see there There's some policies there that often really gender responsive. There's no focal points appointed for ministries, even though the Ministry of Public Service can say gender focal points for ministries, but can already function in some of the ministries that related to natural resources, including the Ministry of Forestry. So Lotan Milfragolo village, you will see here division of labor and products. So that men tend to be very involved inside of those products that have higher value, more money. For example, cover, bitterman, and coconuts. So you will see there, there's a gap already for accessing money. So the men have more more cover instead of women, or the same food, cooked food, which is cooked food has more money, cover has big money. That's where the men goes. And then the women goes for the investment, daily income at times more. Land system, control over land there. Palaki as the says, the Romanaita is a patrilineal society when the men are the decisions. Even though men make decisions, but the women also have a space in there. So this is example, like all the women law villages, they are not homogeneous in the other state. If a woman from chief family and not there, that woman have gotten the opportunity to sit in those meetings for land. So have the debate. No matter what I say, men know about it, but women also are in there. But refer back to those general like health system, there's a gap in education. And that can make a matter of women achieve system, but I'm not because you know that capacity. Because you know school. So you see how. No matter space for that woman by not woman because you're not confident. Or because of him keep on after enemy and no problem with things. So that's why I'm good for me. The kind of area. The gender gaps there. Okay, local matrimonial society, but even though the elder daughters never inherit land from mom, but the voice of the man never still make decisions. This is because woman is married and go to husband. So woman, no matter whatever happen inside of community, like community. But the brothers will not stay. So what if the project come, brothers will make a decision. Woman only come when the brothers. So decision making power, as we mentioned in the family, like shopping for kaka and also and then by woman and also man as well. For we need to talk about the decisions and what's needed. So here's some impacts for SI-SFRM project. Some ways where out of the here entry point of the manage for asking chief for get together a village, especially getting the women in those settings and always difficult for getting woman or each is at the meeting system. But the project did well and on the establishing of committees with which are women leaders as well. And also the different committees still there, or the women leaders too. For example, like community body, the law agroforest, there's Linda and Mary that for another. So you will see women of them. That one even say with the law as well. Maybe some people say normal because we don't like go through the whole thing. Decision making, yes, we're there because the women have the opportunity of committees. They must apply, they must make decision. So that's a good opportunity and a good way that project providing that opportunity, pushing the women for up there and making decisions. So another one. Set up workshops, trainings. Usually project involved, we go and in the team. Because the women, they time at the goal of the day, or the time of making workshops during the day, or the make sure that the making workshops the evenings, then family him dinner finished, in sleep, the other make a wash. So those are things that we really contribute and rural villages in the project. Also, we have to give announcements in time for the villages as well. You may not just go tomorrow and then today we can register that, oh, you forgot now. We have to tell them in advance so that all the families are prepared as well. Trainings, Nadia, you got myself two times in the recording, or that they can get the experts, and then those experts are already aware of the different literacy levels in the community, but the women and the youth as well. So we can make sure that the background of the participants for the body. Contents for training and difficult for you to understand it. So kita using videos every time naman ata show video away and we go also on the simple words and also just the storytelling of the time that you read as well. Mati yang lumasan para kita ini. Okay, so practical gender needs here. Some programs when we currently finish, women of the no educated too much. High cost for vegetables, because for example, community body, you have to come to truck and live far away. Apalagi yang post market there, but customer na yang mesti too much would have to really come out in post and have very costly as well. So, without providing literacy and financial literacy over there, before finding that financial literacy, some probably already attend to NGOs that we work as well. Business training too over there, and then also encouraging women for work on the sample products for selling villages. There's also a decline in productivity of agricultural projects due to soil erosion and giants. Also, one other thing is the community body from income. This time, I have some son of Sam, predict him no one. He have already much, so him also impacting how that they can income. And also try to provide technical trainings for some areas where to do with soil erosion. For strategic gender needs, problems with and we can finish women's lack of self-confidence. So it's really good that the providing women and communication and leadership training that's already done and pushing other women for part of those communities to build their confidence. Women are able to participate actively due to time poverty. So they can other gender sensitizing workshop as well. Try for putting all in separate sessions, focus group discussions, make sure that we put man and woman together. They can also separate so that also active and over the free for division of labor, unequal profit sharing and control. Make sure women too must participate in farming cover or in the trees. And also try for making of the area more power through training centers. Also, profit sharing and establishing recording where Ruby and the other one talk about women have already gender mainstream. So I can really say that even though the needs not there, but I think that project has been trying to make those gender gaps as well. This for go forward, local policy level, the national forestry policy, and just a little bit. There's a mention of gender responsive there, but if I'm go more into detail of gender responsive, promoting other women, men inside decision-making positions. This is not for the ministry only, it's something for the whole government. Training of the officers for more gender responsive. I think the project already did gender training for ministries and board. Establishing gender disaggregated data system or inside those reporting or the systems flow. If you are selecting gender disaggregated, how many man come, how many woman, what kind of step. allocating budget to for promoting women's empowerment. At project level, conducting gender analysis and then incorporating market analysis and demand. Hiring other women managers and technical experts if there's any. Yeah, but we know hiring women no more, but can come and you don't do anything. That's what we should do. And then try to providing more training for other counterparts, for the more inclusive. And then if of the gender responsive operations and the guidelines as well of project. And so I do knowledge management system for shared relation as well with the women inside of it, which is now this is part of it as well. And no, I think it must be fast and brief because I hungry.
Thank you, Thomas. Helen, I think Helen, Henry, what can I expect for gender analysis for this kind of project? Yeah? So now we go to question and answer for part 2 of this session. But then let me hear from Dr. Harold and Dr. Ishikawa, where will we go from here? It's already 12:45.
Thank you. My name is Haraguchi. I'm a team leader of the short-term expert team. The next agenda was the recommendation from the SFRM team. But since, as you already know, that we are already in lunchtime, and JICA representative, Mr. Watanabe, has to leave. So I think some of you also attend the afternoon session. So we're gonna have my presentation also in the afternoon, and the Q&A also maybe we can discuss that. We are sorry for the participants who are not participating in the afternoon. And my presentation, all the presentation we had this morning, we are sending the email, and actually Nishikawa-san already sent the email to most of the participants, the link of the PDF presentation. So please download that file, including my presentation, which we plan to do it, but unfortunately we can't do that. But for the afternoon, we will consider to have my presentation. Okay. So about the handover section, how do we do that? Okay. So handover section, a section of the deliverables. Like one of the important deliverables are maps, land cover map based on the satellite. And but you may have already seen the A0 size map on the area. So that is the one that we produce, and those are all stored in our system, so your things. But sometimes it's good to have the physical maps. So we prepare this as one of the deliverables to MOFR. So we will hand over to the MOFR. So that's the kind of ceremony we plan, but we also don't have enough time, so we make it very quick. I just want to introduce this as the deliverables. All the provincial level maps, land cover map and the satellite, and those including the road network, shown in this map. So we have 2 sets for both maps and for 9 provinces. Yes. So please utilize for your good sake of the forest management in Solomon Islands, and so we will be happy if you utilize and use also some publication and publicity to have some workshop time. And this it's good to discuss with people when we talk about sustainable forestry systems. Thank you. So that's from me. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that one, and that we also I take it as we go for lunch for now. And we'll for the afternoon session, those of you have received the invitation for the joint monitoring. I think mostly forestry, Ministry of Forestry. Will do that one, and will complete what Harald just mentioned. And so before that, for now, to end this session, we'll have the closing remarks from the Commissioner of Forestry and Research, Reeves Moveni, and after that, we will say a prayer for the food, and then we
thank you, Solon. Just quick closing remarks. As you know, we have come to the end of this final workshop to share the achievements of MOFR-JICA Sustainable Forest Management Project. Now, as you can see from all the presentations, you would note that their achievements, lessons learned, and some recommendations of way forward. Now, based on the three outputs, you know the output number one, and also the activities 1 to 5 for the information 2. And I'd like to thank our two experts here, Koji and the colleague, for this wonderful tool. Also for output 3, you will note the pilot activities in terms of forest management, agroforestry, other livelihoods, and of course, gender balance. As you heard early this morning from the speech from our peers, you know that the project will come to an end around next month, August 22. Importantly is to know the sustainability of the concept which we have led. Yeah, once the project ends, what will happen? What's next? This is our major challenge, which we have to put in mind, and especially MOFR. We'd like to see that this concept of this project, MOFR-JICA SFRM, yes, and other relevant forestry stakeholders and other relevant stakeholders to continue to promote and ensure that this model continues in Solomon Islands. With these few remarks, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, on behalf of the Minister of PS, MOFR-JICA SFRM, to thank JICA headquarters, which I know you are currently online, JICA Manera office. Of course, we have right here, Mr. Tanambe, thank you for your presence here. JICA SFRM officials under the team leader of Mr. Here. Also, I'd like to thank the subtime expert, Mr. Arkuchi and Tapasi, the MOFR staff, Line Ministry, who are present with us today, I understand there some rep for PMO, also Sino rep who is here, other NGOs, and Commander Boli rep who is also here with us, and Falak rep, and also Tinska, yeah, is a rep here, and finally, yes, also I forgot the name, but you're here, and to everyone who I did not mention your name, but you are present with us in this final workshop. I'd like to thank you all. Good for attending to us.
Thank you, Thomas, Commissioner Leaves, and he is also the project manager for this SI-SFRM project. Direct project director. President one, thank you once again, everyone, our colleagues joining online, and every participants who are physically present, as the Commissioner already mentioned today. So before we go on for lunch, this for purpose of to aware those who will be participating on the afternoon session, please after lunch you can we come back to the same venue. We come back to the same venue here, and we continue with the joint monitoring and evaluation activities. Yeah, we'll ask somebody to say a prayer. Can we ask Stephanie to what time do we continue? Then 1 o'clock. Yeah, because only short 1:30. Yes.
Lunch is downstairs. Please go to downstairs. Yeah. So